Welcome back to the Weekly Sports Guy podcast. I'm your host, Ashton Alcock, and this week we got a special because we got an episode today and tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be covering all things hockey, but today I'm going to do my weekly picks for the NFL, as well as going to be talking about some Drake Maye, because Drake Maye has just been announced the starter in New England, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the game picks, and then tomorrow we're going to talk all things hockey, predictions, and I'm going to have a special guest on for that show, so can't wait. So let's start off with the breaking news. Yesterday, Adam Schefter reported that Drake Maye, the number 3 overall pick, will be starting for the New England Patriots this week, and probably going to continue going on. I've been hearing those people saying, "Oh, this is a bad move. They should have kept Jacoby in," but also this is a fair move because he hasn't been doing anything on offense. My take is that you had to start him at this point. Jacoby, after week 1 and 2, he looked fine week 1 and 2. He led you to a win, almost beat Seattle week 2. But then week 3, week 4, week 5, it started to go downhill. Week 5, you had a lead in a 10-3 game at one point, and you end up losing 15-10, and which is probably a scoregami somehow. Or if not, then I'm kind of surprised. But the thing is that you can't be going in these games with a 10-3 lead where the defense has this game won. Because how many times are you going to do it? What happens if somehow this week against Texans you're starting Jacoby Brissett and the same thing happens? Then you lose again, and then Jacksonville. Like, those are games that were winnable in the Mac Jones era somehow. They were somehow winnable. They somehow should have been winnable now, because I don't think you really upgraded with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback from Mac Jones. They're probably about the same level as each other, but looking at the stats of the first 5 weeks last year compared to the first 5 weeks this year, Mac Jones looked way better. But that's a completely different story. So now you go have this subpar game against the Dolphins in a game you should have probably won. Your defense handed you that game, and our offense went, nope, the Miami Dolphins can win. Jacoby Brissett looked horrible. He stands in the pocket way too long, because I always hear, like, well, Drake Maye doesn't get hit behind this whole line. But the only thing about Drake Maye is compared is that his great pocket presence. So he's also going to make things on his feet. He's going to run out of the pocket. The pressure's coming inside. He's going to go out. Create some time. Where Jacoby Brissett was just standing in the pocket. And now it's, okay, we're here. And now he's getting sacked because he stood in the pocket for way too long. Where Drake's going to take it outside, right? So it's going to be completely different. Obviously, the team's going to look a lot better offensively. I'm not going to say this move is going to propel them to win multiple games in a row. No. Do I think they beat Houston? No. But I think it could be more competitive with him in the lineup rather than Jacoby Brissett leading the charge. So Drake Maye starting is the right call. Obviously, they said recently that this was actually the plan, him start this week. Give him like 5 weeks to learn. Obviously, he's learned what not to do, obviously, because the Patriots in the last 3 weeks have averaged 8.3 points a game, which is the worst. You pretty much scored a touchdown, a 2-point conversion every game, but more like the Patriots would get a safety and 2 field goals. But with Drake Maye starting, now you have a guy who's the modern-day quarterback. He is 6'4", 230. He can make off-platform throws. He can run with the ball. He can do whatever he wants. And I agreed when C.J. Stroud said he was the most ready NFL quarterback. I didn't agree with that part, but like the stuff about what he was saying about him, like he can make throws. One thing that like C.J. Stroud said he was doing early in his career that he could see Drake Maye not doing is that because he was doing it in college, was that he started panicking and he'd start taking out the pocket, start taking away his legs when his reads weren't there. He was forcing it down the field, and he said what he saw in the tape with Drake Maye, he goes, he sits in the pocket, he runs when he needs to, he makes the right passes, he gets guys open, he has a great arm, he has all this talent. And for me, when I was looking at all the rookie quarterbacks, because I'm a Patriots fan, so at week 10 last year was looking at possibly drafting a quarterback last year, so I'm going through all the guys. I knew we had no chance of getting Caleb because I don't think we're going to be bad enough to get them one pick. But I knew we were going to be in that like top 4 spot where we could draft a quarterback. Obviously, I thought we were going to end up getting number 2, but Washington beat us out for there. So Jaden Daniels pretty much was locked to them anyway. New England might have taken him. I have no clue. People saying that they wanted Jaden Daniels over Drake, but they're happy if they got Drake. But then I've also heard things that Drake was their preferred option over Jaden and Caleb. But I think they made the right move with Drake. To me, he was the best quarterback in this draft. I'm going to kind of give you a little background from me. So I think this like with the right move. I just think the talent you have with him also can propel an offense. I know the receiving core isn't phenomenal. You have two rookies. One's not playing because he's got some technical issues like not lining up correctly, not running the right routes, stuff like that. But the talent's there in Javon Baker. But Jalen Polk has been looking really good. He had a nice deep ball catch that didn't end up counting against San Francisco. He had a touchdown that got called back last week against the Dolphins. He has a touchdown. He has the only other touchdown a Patriots receiver has. But he's looked really good. He looks comfortable. Kendrick Bourne's back, so that's going to be huge. Hunter Henry thrives as rookie quarterbacks. He did well with Mac Jones. He did well with Justin Herbert. So there's plenty of options there for Drake Maye to kind of get an offense rolling and to use his talent too, because Alex Van Pelt's going to use him a lot differently than he's using Jacoby Brissett. Obviously, it's still going to be a little bit more run heavy, kind of put a little bit of training wheels on him, but I don't think it's going to be like a training wheels, but they're going to lock it on there and keep him there. I think they're going to let it slowly kind of build up, let him build up more confidence. Okay, now let's say one drive in the Houston Texans game, we see an opportunity to throw the ball down the field. They're more than welcome to. So now it's going to be the fourth, I believe, right? Yeah, the fourth rookie quarterback that's going to be starting this year with Bo Nix, Caleb, and Jaden, who've all looked great. I know people are like, oh, well, he's going to lose all of his confidence playing behind this O-line. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think he's going to have a couple bad games. He's going to have a couple good games. He's a rookie. He's going to do it. If you really think about it, look at Caleb Williams. He had a couple bad games, and now he's playing well. Bo Nix played horrible in the first couple of games, playing well. Jaden Daniels wasn't this Jaden Daniels until week 3 and on, and now look at him, right? It took some time to build up. I think with Drake Maye, I think this week he'll get his first loss in his NFL career. So, obviously, but he's also playing a great team in Houston, and I'm going over that in my game picks. But I think it's going to be a lot more rare game for the Patriots offensively, and for Patriots fans, you get to see the guy you really wanted at the number 3 overall pick. You drafted him for a reason. He's your franchise guy. He has all the tools to be a great quarterback in this league. But there's also another thing is you need weapons too. But there's also very much potential. I think it's a couple weeks before he fully gets used to playing in the NFL. He only has one drive in the regular season at the end of the game against the Jets. And he tried to take credibility for the sacks he took, but that's not his fault. The O-line that game had suffered like 3 injuries on the O-line. People are even back now they got pulled in that game. So there's like a different O-line combination by the time he was up from when it started. And so I think with last week's offensive line, it looked a little bit better. Obviously, still pressure was getting to the quarterback, but the O-line seemed to hold more steady. So that's probably going to be the line this week. I do expect Drake Maye to play somewhat well for his first game. I don't think it's going to be like a superstar game. I don't think he's going to be throwing for 330 and 5 touchdowns. But I could possibly see a game like a 225, 1 touchdown, no picks, or a 2 touchdown, 1 pick game from him. And for the Patriots fans, that would be entertaining because you'll probably end up getting 1 on the ground as well. So that's my thing on Drake Maye. If he does well, he's definitely got support inside the organization. So let's get on the game picks. So it's week 6 already. This season's already flying by. We already got our first couple teams on bye weeks. I believe it's the Chiefs, and I forgot who else. If I pull out my phone for a second, I probably could get who's on a bye week, but I know it's not. I know it's only like 2 teams. I could be completely wrong. It could be 3. It's 4. It's Dolphins, the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Vikings. The Vikings and Chiefs go into their bye week, both undefeated as the only 2 undefeated teams. So this week, no one's beating the undefeated team. So good luck in week 7. Let's start on Thursday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. So that is tomorrow night. I keep thinking today's Thursday for some weird reason. Just kind of lost in dates. This week's kind of been flying by for me. But San Francisco 49ers San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. The Niners coming off a terrible loss to the Cardinals. They got upset in that game. That game they should have won. Seattle, on the other hand, are going to basically do their own thing. I know they came off a loss the week before to the Lions, but now they're coming off a win. Also, Seattle's home, so I am picking Seattle in this game just because they're home. I think it's gonna be like a really close game. There's nothing really in this game where I'm gonna be like, well, Seattle's been great. No, they haven't. We all know Seattle hasn't been great this year, but nor has San Fran. San Fran suffered multiple injuries. They've had no Deebo Samuel at points. They had no George Kittle at points. Brock Purdy was rumored to be out. They have no Christian McCaffrey. Trent Williams was out for a bit, right? And they lost a couple of defenders for some time. They come back, right? I know the Niners are mostly healthy right now. Obviously, they're going to be more fueled for this game. But I think going into Seattle, which is a tough area to play with the 12th man there, I think Seattle ends up winning this 14-10. I don't think it's going to really be a high-scoring game. But knowing me, this is going to be completely opposite. It's going to be like a shootout, and it's going to be like 54-51 at the end of the score, just like the Rams-Chiefs game in 2018. So give me Seattle in this game. London, we're going to, I think, London on Sunday, or it's Germany. I forgot which spot they're playing. It's the Jaguars at the Bears at 9:30 in the morning. The Bears have looked a little more consistent. I still don't think they're great. I don't think they're making the playoffs. Caleb Williams looks a little bit better. Like I mentioned before, he's gotten better. He's improved. Obviously, it's going to take time for rookies to adjust to this league. Right? Like Jaden Daniels kind of spread out to the show in week 3, right? And now he's having this historic rookie year, and obviously he's gonna slow down again at points, and he's gonna pick it right back up. It's kind of when you're a rookie quarterback, you kind of like those. It's like up and down. It's almost like a roller coaster kind of a season. Like you have these spurts of great games. You have a couple good games, okay games, spurts of great games again, right? You kind of keep building up these things. He's also Caleb Williams is also going to be facing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just got their first win last week. So there's no more winless teams, so no one can go 0-17. So we'll have to wait till next season to potentially see a team go 0-17. Trevor Lawrence hasn't really looked great. I don't know what's really wrong with Jacksonville. I tried to talk about it last week. I have no clue what's wrong. I think it's coaching, but also QB play hasn't been great. So I don't know what's going on. Trevor Lawrence made some great plays last week and great throws, but he also made a terrible pick. I remember watching one of the picks was terrible. He underthrew the guy completely. But I'm going to take the Bears in this matchup. I just think the Bears have more talent on offense than Jacksonville. I think the defense for Jacksonville is not going to really stop them that well. But I don't think it's going to be really, really high scoring, but I think it's going to be like a really good game. I think it's going to be 24-17 in favor of, obviously, the Bears. I just think the Bears offensively, Caleb Williams is getting his groove, but I just don't see Jacksonville winning this game. Jacksonville, they just haven't been great this year. Defensively, they haven't been their selves. I think Jacksonville is going to be the next one to fire their coach. We just had Robert Saleh. I know I didn't talk about it. I might talk about it when the Jets come up on the schedule, but just for right now, I just can't see Doug Peterson lasting the whole season. So give me the Bears. And speaking of the devil, talking about Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams and the Commanders are going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. I'm taking the Commanders in this game. They've looked really good. Defensively, they're playing really well. Offensively, they're playing great. Jaden Daniels, obviously, last week didn't play phenomenal against the Browns, but he also didn't have a bad game at all. Obviously, a game that if you're a Commanders fan, you're taking any day. You still blew out the Browns, who have a really good defense. Offensively, they're a little shaky. Obviously, another team I'll be talking about when it comes up to. But they're facing the Ravens, who haven't really been great this year. I don't really see this team making a deep run. Everyone's like, oh, well, the Ravens are going to have a chance to go back, fight with the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. But I don't see this team really going far. There's a lot of liability to this offense. If the run game's not working, Lamar has to rely on his pass. If they have a good mix of both, that's when they're really good. They don't really have a superstar weapon. Mark Andrews has been non-existent, like I mentioned before. I don't know what's going on. They've been using him like a left tackle rather than a tight end, which he is more of a receiver. But they've been using Isaiah Likely. I think Cole Air is the other guy, the backup, the third string tight end that they also been using. So I don't know why you guys are not using Mark Andrews at this point. I would consider trading him. He's non-existent to your offense. It doesn't matter what you do with him because you barely use him. He has like 1 catch, 2 catches all year. I could be wrong. He probably has like 4 or 5, but like you know what I mean. Like he hasn't really been great. So he hasn't been himself. The Commanders are just too clicking on offense. They're just like that team's just going, 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 and going. Now they're winning games. So Commanders are going to take this game, and I think it's going to be a fairly high-scoring game for the Commanders. I'm going to say 38-28. They're going to win by 10 at least against this Ravens team. The very next game is the Cardinals at the Packers. Talking about the Cardinals, they did just upset the Niners last week. I know the Cardinals aren't a great team, but obviously it's a rival in the Niners that they end up beating. But they're going to face the Green Bay Packers team who, one second, I just brain farted for a whole second. They're going to play a Green Bay Packers team who struggled last week heavily in one of those crazy weird turnover games. So I think really these teams are kind of like coming off a weird game before. Obviously for the Cardinals, it's a much better win. You beat the Niners. But for the Packers, I don't know if I could pick them this week. I'm having a hard time picking them, I should say, because like the Cardinals came off a good win. The Packers came off a really sluggish game. So it's obviously a lot of cleanup. I'm going to take the Cardinals in a little bit of a surprise in this game. I'm going to say it's a 24-21 type of game. So give me the Cardinals. All right, so the next game is the Houston Texans at the New England Patriots. Like I mentioned before, like we just talked about, Drake Maye is starting for the New England Patriots, so I'm not going to go much more in depth than that, obviously. So obviously it's going to be a new look team. I'm taking the Texans. They're just the better team, way better. They have their team that I can possibly see going to a Super Bowl. They weren't my pick going to the Super Bowl. It was the Bengals before the season, but as of now, it looks like it's going to be the Houston Texans. And I think they can give a really good shot with the Kansas City Chiefs, who just lost Rashee Rice for a bit. They don't have Hollywood Brown. So this is a really good time to take advantage of what you have right now. They have a ton of weapons. Tank Dell, Nico Collins. I know Nico Collins is probably not playing this week, but you are still Stephon Diggs. You have Dalton Schultz. You have Joe Mixon if he comes back. If not, you have Cam Akers who played really well. But it's just like there's too much talent in that team. The Patriots defense is really good, but their offense right now before this was really bad. So I don't really know how the offense is going to look for New England. Obviously, new quarterback. So it's obviously going to be a lot different. Different style quarterback too. So going from there. So give me the Texans in a 31-21 game. I think the Patriots will score a lot more points than they usually have, but I don't think it's going to be enough to propel them over the Texans. If this was a team like next week when the Patriots face Jacksonville and London, that's a completely different story to me because they're two teams that just haven't really been great. So, but that's next week. I'll do my game picks next week for that game. But for now, it's going to be the Texans in a 31-21 game. The next game is the Bucs at the Saints. The Saints just took a tough loss on Monday night to the Chiefs, while the Bucs had a tough loss last week in a phenomenal game against the Falcons. But I'm going to take the Bucs in this game. I think the Bucs are just better than the Saints. The Saints haven't looked great. Derek Carr is probably out for a couple weeks, so I don't know who their quarterback going to be. Could be Spencer Rattler. Could be, I don't know if they still have, I forgot his name. He was Ian Book. I don't know if they still have him. But I just can't, I'm going to have a hard time picking the Saints, especially with no quarterback. So give me the Bucs in a pretty deciding game, 34-10. Next game, Browns at Eagles. Another team I was going to talk about, the Browns. They have not been great offensively this year. I think they should start considering benching Deshaun Watson. Honestly, all the talent he has is still there. It's just, it seems like it's more of a mental thing. I think everything going on for the last few years is basically hovering over his head. So it's like one of those big shadow figures you see in the background of a horror movie that's about to do a jump scare, but instead of a jump scare, it's just looming behind Deshaun Watson. So obviously, it hasn't been great for them. The Eagles, on the other hand, also haven't really been that great. So it's like they're kind of playing a game where the Browns could win this game with their defense because the Eagles haven't been really great. They also, I don't know if they have any of their receivers this week coming off a bye. Devonta Smith was hurt. I know A.J. Brown was hurt. So I don't know if any of them are coming back. I'm going to still take the Eagles, though. Saquon Barkley should be enough to propel them over the Browns. The Browns just have not been great offensively, like I mentioned. So I think it's going to be like a 24-13 game. The Browns are going to barely score. The defense is going to hold them in the game, and then the Eagles are going to put a last push to put them away. The very next game is an AFC South matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are coming off a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, while the Titans are coming off a bye week. The Titans, like I mentioned before, haven't been good at all. Will Levis is a meme. He throws a pick, and then he makes some crazy gesture or crazy movement, crazy whatever, and now here we are. They're 1-3. They haven't been great. Colts have been playing really well under Joe Flacco, which is kind of surprising. Joe Flacco's like 38 years old, but Joe Flacco is still being the old Joe Flacco that we all know and love. So I'm taking the Colts in this game, 24-10. I don't think the Titans are good enough to even beat this team. They have a roster that has Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tony Pollard. I know D-Hop's a little bit older, not the same player as he used to be, but he's still good enough that they should probably have more than just one win. But they haven't really been great. So the Colts are definitely going to win that game. So the next game is the Chargers at the Broncos. The Broncos are coming off a good win. The Chargers are coming off a bye. So Herbert's going to be a little more healthy. I'm taking the Chargers in this one. I think the Chargers are still a way better team than the Denver Broncos. I think it's going to be a really good matchup this week. I think it's going to be a really good game, a really close game. I think it's going to be 34-31 Chargers. The next game is Steelers at the Raiders. The Raiders don't even know who their starting quarterback is, but the Steelers are also on a 2-game losing streak. They just lost a tough game to the Dallas Cowboys. And then a game, I believe, if I remember, I did pick the Cowboys to lose, and I chose the Steelers just because I didn't trust the Cowboys. But Dak Prescott showed up late enough to win in that game. But this week's a little bit different for the Steelers. Obviously, for obvious reasons, they're playing a team that has no quarterback. They have no quarterback identity. They can't choose a quarterback now. They're stuck between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. I don't think either move really propels them to win this game. So obviously I'm going to take the Steelers in probably a blowout, 24-3. I don't think the Steelers score more than 24 points. Their defense will probably shut down Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, whoever decides to start for them. So give me the Steelers. The very next game, the Falcons at the Panthers, an NFC South showdown. So we had an AFC South showdown, and now we have an NFC South showdown. Obviously, the Panthers aren't that great. So we have 2 NFC South matchups this week. I'm going to have to cut that out. But the Falcons, I'm going to give them the win. The Panthers aren't good at all. They had that nice one win when Andy Dalton came in, and now they got blown out last week, the Panthers, so they end up throwing Bryce Young in, who actually looked pretty good for a couple plays. But the Falcons are just way too good. They have way too much momentum. Obviously, they almost beat the Chiefs. They beat the Saints. They are going to come in this week pretty have heads over heels. So the Falcons, I'm going to give them the win 31-14. I think the Panthers will score a couple of touchdowns and call it a day. But the Falcons are just way too good. Lions at the Cowboys for the last 425 game. This should be a fun matchup. These teams typically have a good fight against each other. This game's always pretty good. The Lions are coming off a bye week, where the Cowboys are coming off a really good, really tough win over the Steelers. A game that they probably should have blown out, but but the Steelers played hard. They end up coming down to a last-minute touchdown, the last-second touchdown actually. But the Lions, they're coming off a bye week, well rested. They played a really good game the week before against Seattle. I'm just going to take the Lions in this game. I think it's going to be somewhat close, but I also think it's going to be somewhat of a distance. I'm going to say it's going to be 28-20 in the favor of the Lions, just because the Lions coming out the bye week are going to be a little bit more healthier. But Dallas hasn't really done anything all season to really make me pick them, despite the fact that it did make me eat my words last week. So I'm going to go with Sunday Night Football. Bengals at the Giants. Giants are 2-3, which is a little bit surprising, but the Bengals are 1-4, which is also surprising. But I think the Bengals get their second win of the season, and this, I think, propels them on a win streak. The Bengals, I think, will win this game pretty decisively. Their defense is just too good to stop this Giants offense. I think Malik Neighbors is still going to do Malik Neighbors types of things, but I just don't think Malik Neighbors is just enough to beat the Cincinnati Bengals team. I'm going to take the Bengals 30, 37-17. And Monday Night Football, the last game of the week, is the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. The New York Jets just fired Robert Saleh, so they might have a little more momentum coming in this game. Obviously, new head coach, some new energy. I disagree with what they did with Robert Saleh. I'm going to talk about that for a second. They fired Robert Saleh blindsidedly. Willie Johnson just told him, hey, we're going to fire you, we're going to let you go. And he was ready to go play for the Bills. But obviously that couldn't happen. So now they fired him. He was thinking about firing Nathaniel Hackett. But even with that, after firing him, they wouldn't even let him tell the team that he got fired. Just let's give a heads up. We've seen the Hard Knocks thing of Jeff Fisher going talking to the Rams saying, hey, I got let go. I hope you guys have a great season, blah, blah, blah. Where this didn't happen. They just escorted him out of the building and basically said, get out, don't come back. So I disagree with what they did. I think it was the right move. I thought they should just wait to the off season to do it. I don't think there's really a reason to do it now. I know you lost a tough game to the Minnesota Vikings, but also the Minnesota Vikings are a great team. They had a phenomenal defense. So it's like you played a really good team. So I don't think it was deserving of firing Robert Saleh at that moment, but I knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming, that Saleh was going to be gone, at least at the end of the season. But it's a little bit of a surprise to me that he got fired after week 5, by week 6. But with that, the Buffalo Bills are heading to MetLife Stadium. I don't think it's going to be really much of a game for the Jets. Offensively, they've looked terrible. Rodgers has been horrible. But for the Bills, it's been a lot better for them. I know they're 3-2, and they're saying with some tough losses. But the Buffalo Bills, I think offensively, are just better. Defensively, they're about the same. I think the Jets have a slightly better defense. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. So give me 20-14 for Buffalo. That's going to be all for today's episode. I'll see you tomorrow when we talk some hockey. But till then, see you next time.